you don't really need to consume a lot to, I guess, find your style. And I think finding your style is about representation because a lot of people seek out aesthetics and they seek out these different ways of actualizing who they are or who they're going to become through aesthetics and styles that they haven't achieved yet. And I think representation lies in the method of absence. And I don't really like representation or absence because it's based on the idea that I lack something innate within myself that allows me to be productive or allows me to not make new connections, if that makes sense. Now, when I see a commercial and it's obviously trying to establish this desire within myself to consume this product, that's obvious. What is not quite so obvious is the frame of reference between the advertiser and the consumer that's subliminal beyond the message. And I guess what I'm saying is I'm speaking to you on YouTube, but like you're going to make your own framework based on what my interpretation is. And like the message is just altered in so many forms throughout time, no matter how much we want it to stay the same. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that the world is made up of multiple connections, right? The world is made up of multiple flows, and there are different machines that exist, desiring machines that exist. And these desiring machines play a part in manipulating, shaping, and customizing these flows. Flows, like I said before, can be information, data, essence of communication. And what these partial objects do, partial objects like our body parts, right? They take these flows and they chop them off sometimes. Maybe they accept them. And then they take the flows and they traverse the flows through other machines around our environment or internally. This idea that style or aesthetic is something to want or find within yourself is kind of weird because I think aesthetic is something that you should just already have because you already are a walking aesthetic. It's not something that you can consume because an aesthetic is just an archetype of structure. That's not what people think they're consuming whenever they want an aesthetic. They think they're doing something like unique, so they do it. And maybe they don't think they're doing something unique. Maybe the whole point of an aesthetic or style in the first place is to like be like somebody and say, okay, if I'm going to be like this person, I'm now going to be able to assume the attributes of life that this person typically would experience because I am now the archetype of that person. I think that's honestly a sad way to live your life because you're not actually creating new experiences. You're not actually being productive. Even if your consumption of a style itself through maybe a product is disguised as production. That's how perverse our world is. It's like it makes up things for you to feel a lack about, and then it forces you to exist as a subject from the point of view of the assemblages that create that need to have that thing in the first place. And I'm not saying that we're manipulated. I think people know this is happening every single day, and we can't really control it because, well, I mean, it's certain attributes or certain inclinations towards being a subject to a certain system is rewarded. It's why people continuously send their kids to these institutions that we supposedly don't even trust anymore as a country. Specifically speaking, as a person living in the West, it seems like a lot of people are upset and they have this postmodern outlook on the system. It's like question everything. Everything's wrong. But like nobody actually wants to change it because changing it means that you're going to be put up against a wall that deep down inside you know you're too scared to cross. Are you going to stay behind the wall and exist within the system that you live in and be happy about it, or are you going to break through? I think the people that just kind of sit on like the edges go crazy, and they just end up not doing anything in life because they're like, they don't know what they want to do. Like, this girl asked me today when I was getting this coffee, she was like, what are you going to do today? And I was like, I'm going to the library. And she was like, oh, for school. And I was like, no, like, just because I like going to the library, like, it's peaceful. And she was like, word, like, that's dope. A lot of people think different systems that they participate in have to be a part of something else. Like, you're doing something or entering another control system because you want to get to another point, if that makes sense. I don't think it has to be that way. I think that the world needs to be unstructured in a way where people have places to go without always needing to do something while they're there. And I think this video is probably about the third place, or maybe the disappearance of it. Outside the library, outside of like church, maybe church, because church asks you for money too. There's very few places you can go and like people don't expect you to buy food or like participate in whatever activities and machines that are already programmed for you to interact with. It's just like, I don't want to do something every time I want to go somewhere. Like, sometimes I just want to go somewhere that is a place where I can just exist and, you know, meet other people that are just existing. Because I think if you go to places that are constantly like expectations of production or expectations of like pre-programmed interaction, it becomes cliquish. That's why it seems like every time you're out, everybody's doing something already with a group of people, and it's like, yeah, you can just be one of those people to walk into a bar by yourself, or, you know, go watch a game at a sports lounge. But it's like nobody actually puts that in practice because it's weird. Deep down inside, you know, it feels weird. Nobody wants to do it because it's freaking weird. So we all end up being isolated because we don't have places where we can congregate and meet people. And I think a part of the reason why we don't have these places anymore is because these assemblages, the systems themselves that form these places, or what were third places years ago when our parents were growing up, they have been commodified. Almost everything in this country has been commodified to the point where I'm not going to even be surprised if we start getting advertisements in our sleep. More and more each year, things become more apparent in regards to the direction we're going towards our interactability as people. So I don't know what quite to do anymore, honestly. The best thing that I've been doing, what I do now is just like, I literally just talk to anybody I see. Even if they don't look like they want to talk, I'll just say something to them, right? Because I'm not expecting a full conversation. I just want to interact with another human. Because I'm tired of going out and seeing people like glued to their phones. What are you doing on your phone so much? And they never do anything. If you really just look at people's phones in public, or you look at your friends' phones, you will notice that they're not even doing anything. They're just looking, they're just vicariously living in another person's virtual world. At some point, we are all subject to an elitist group. And we have to question these networks that we know exist, but we choose to do nothing about every day, because these networks affect our interactability within the world. And I think a lot more people my age, a lot more people, shit, your age would be happier if we just could interact more, man. We can at least talk about these things in public without them being like, oh man, too deep for me.